Alright guys, so what I'm going to go through and show you is how to make a simple Facebook business cover. So if you have a Facebook business page, here's mine that I never use since I own a website. Might as well use it if you're going to put the money into it, get Facebook. So simple photo that I have here, took with my digital camera during the wildfires last year. You can actually see right here, smoke. Simple logo exported from Lightroom. Nothing complicated. Close out of here. So I have an idea that I want to work with this logo that I've kind of created here. It's not really a logo, I got my logo up here. It's just a banner graphic that I created for my homepage and my website. So what I went through is I've dragged the logo into Inkscape, which I'll get to here in a second. So when you zoom in, you got my logo, it's in PNG format. So if we go through and put a solid color there, and we'll move this to the top, you can see that the drop shadow is already into the graphic, so I won't have to add that later on for that. It's pretty nice already. So we'll zoom out. So back to what Inkscape is. If you've ever used an Adobe product like Illustrator or Photoshop, Inkscape is pretty much like Illustrator. Go through and create vector graphics. It's available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. It's free and open source, so that's a giant plus. Don't have to put boohoo bucks into a vector program. So if you've ever used CorelDRAW, Illustrator, you're in the right neighborhood. I've been using it for about 6 months now, and it's amazing that you can shift your workforce to open source these days and literally pay nothing to run a business. So it's a little bit about what Inkscape is, so we'll get back into the program. So what I have figured out for the Facebook cover as of now, once you get Inkscape installed, you'll have to go down to File, Document Properties. So what we have here is we've got the actual page setup for how wide it is. Total dimensions. I think I'm displaying it in millimeters right now, so let me change that to pixels. And there you can see that it goes up to 800 now. So we have 820 wide by 340 high. So when you go back to your Facebook here, this image is not sized correctly. It's a little taller than what they're supposed to be. So when you go in and inspect it, I believe it's about 460 maybe. Yeah, 461. So the 341 is going to make it look a little less proportionate to what I have here now, but it'll look nicer. So we're gonna go in, so you can go through, and if it opens up to just like a letter size page, you can come here to the document properties and just type in what you want your new page to be. So if you go 340 by 340, we're gonna create a square. Well, we're gonna go back to 820 for the width and 340 for the height. Now, another cool feature is if you go to edit, you can see that I already have page guides around this, but I skipped this one. So I'll actually get rid of, I don't think it's going to let me just do that, so I can't do that. But the page guides around your actual workspace, that will be exported. If you go to edit, and then create guides around the page, it'll put all 4 guides on each side of the page. So now you can see where your cutoff points are for your leads and your fades. So pretty much what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to find a background for the Facebook cover. So I'm going to show you another website. It's going to be toptail.com designers/subtle patterns. If you go to Google and type in subtle patterns, this should pop up. Pretty much everything on this page you can use freely, even distribute. If you scroll down to the bottom of their page, you can go through and read the Creative Commons license that follows for all the patterns. I use this quite a bit in web development to simply pull a pattern from their page and tile it across the background effortlessly. So what I've decided is I want to go for a paper look. So we'll type in paper and see what pops up here. Okay, so we got graph paper here. Click preview and see how it looks as a background. That doesn't look too bad. Kind of give you the idea that you're creating something. So we'll go through, download this. And like I said, you can use any of the patterns on this website pretty much without having to do any attribution to the author at all. They do have a Photoshop plugin that you can download for Photoshop, so you can integrate all the patterns and textures from their website into Photoshop. So that's kind of cool. Learned that a while back. So got our pattern downloaded, and we're going to show it in the folder. So we'll extract it. Once we have it extracted, we can open it up, and I will just grab this PNG. I want to drag it from the folder and just drag it into Inkscape. Now what you can do here is up here in the resize, just make it 96 by 96. When it loaded in there, it was a little big, so if you could do the 96 by 96, it will load it for HD compatible devices, Retina display, etc. It just gives it a higher DPI for the background versus being all blown out and distorted. So once we have that, we're just going to set it off to the side, and it seems that my logo disappeared. So I'm going to have to go fetch it real quick. So we'll go to my secret file locations, and we're just going to drag it back to Inkscape. So now we got all this back into Inkscape. What we can do is we're going to go through and we're going to click the pattern that we drug in from subtle patterns. You're going to click object, pattern, or objects to pattern. Okay, now that we have that, it's going to come over here and show the fill for pattern. So now that we have the pattern created, we need to go through and create an area to fill the pattern with. So since we already got our guides, it aligns our box over here. So now we click our box, and you see how that fill changed. Once you click from the pattern, it goes from pattern to solid color. Now to get pattern, it's up here. So I'm going to click on the green box I have here. We'll click on pattern, and the pattern that we selected is now within our box. Now you see how it looks seamless and you can't really see any of the seams of the pattern. It's kind of why I resized it to the 96 pixels. It just gives it a smoother, cleaner look. Yeah, you don't get the full effect of the grid paper, but we're not really trying to focus on the background. The background is just an added aesthetic. So, got the background. We're going to go through. I'm going to drag my logo. Oops. I'm going to raise it to the top. That way it's in front of everything. So, I'm not going to center it up just yet. we can click Object, and then, ooh, nope, sorry, I got it over here docked. So, Align and Distribute. Click Align and Distribute, and we'll center it to the page. You can go through here, and an easy example of some of the features of Inkscape is just like Illustrator, using the Pathfinder tool and stuff like that. If I have my logo drugged down here out of the work page, and I have it set relative to the page, when I click center, it's going to center it that way, but now that I do this, it's going to center it that way. So it's centered within the page. Now if I come up here and click biggest object, and then I have my logo selected along with the background, so I got two items selected, I can now click my vertical and horizontal align, and it will, instead of aligning it to the page, it aligns it to the background. So that's pretty cool. So if you don't want to work on the canvas, you can just work on a certain area. Just remember what you're aligning to. So I'm going to go back to the page, and we're going to move this all center. Alright, I'm going to rescale this graphic. So we're going to turn the lock on here, and you can see that it's about 750 pixels wide. If you remember, the Facebook cover was 820 pixels wide. So what I'm going to do to create a safe zone, that way this graphic shows up on all devices. There is a little bit of size difference between desktop, mobile, and tablet, so you have to account for those during this process. I found that 520, so like 520 pixels wide, is about a pinky's width, and then 480 is about a thumb's width. So if you want a little tighter area around your photo on the mobile phone, you can go with the 520, but I'm going to stick with the 480, and since we have that locked, when it scales it will be proportionate. Now I'm going to go back and recenter everything to the center of the page because we want to keep that graphic centered. Alright, so we got our background, got the graphic, and you can see how we already have the drop shadow. We don't need to add drop shadow. If we really wanted to, we could do something like this. We'll do a Control C for copy, and then Control Alt V for paste. If you just paste a copy over it, it'll make it darker. Or if you take that copy, come up here to Filters, Shadows and Glows. We'll do a drop shadow. Okay, we'll click Live Preview. You can see this gives us this boxy look behind it. Now since I already have a drop shadow, this wouldn't look right. For the sake of this tutorial, I'll show you this real quick just to see what it looks like. But we'll click Apply, Close, and I gotta drop it down. That way it's behind the graphic. So now we have this shadow that could be moved all throughout the image. It's pretty much just a copy of the layer beneath it. So that's one way you can do a drop shadow, but since I've already got mine in there, I'm just going to forget about it. Forget about it. Now, I want to put a little bit of text on this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to nudge my logo up a smidge bit. I'm just going to do a shift and then one up on the up arrow. We'll do two actually. I think that'll be good. We're going to come back over here, and I'm going to draw another box. So I said about 520 is our safe zone to be tight, so let's do 520. Actually, let's do 540 and see what it looks like, just for the sake of the tutorial. So I'm going to align it. We're going to use some eyeball skills and just make it look good. So I did the 540 wide. I'd probably only, we're not going to lock the ratio, so you got to unlock that. probably only going to do about 55 pixels. Which that looks a little weird, so we can go down to 35 and just see what that... Okay, that might look good with our text. We're going to raise this up a little bit. And I'm going to find my color for this. Inkscape uses RGBA. I'm used to hex color using web design, so I'm going to have to look this up. So 0C6 to RGB on the good old Google. I think it's 020412. 0204102. Got a 0. Okay, so I'm going to click this. I'm going to come down here. 0 4 tab 2. We hit enter. We should have our color. Now, it looks a little off. So what I'm going to do with this background, I'm going to add some darkness to it. A little bit of color theory right here. There we go. So now that I got my color, I'm going to come over here to get the text tool. You can hit T on your keyboard and it'll just pop up. I'm going to type https www.greentdesign.com. So I got my website here now. We're not going to use this font. It is a nice font though. Whoops, I'm going to grab my background instead of my font. Okay, I'm going to center it. Bring it down. Let's see. So we got our text up. So let's format it a little bit. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's go 24 and see what that looks like. So 24 will fit inside of it. Going back to earlier, how we aligned the logo to the background without it being on the page. I'm going to use the same principle and align the font to the biggest object, which would be the green box. So now if I do center, center, see how it nudged it up? Got a nice little call to action right here with the website. Zoom out and you can see that it reads very, very bold and clear. So that's good. Stand out. Now for added effect, you can go through and simply copy your background that you have the pattern, and we're just going to do a Control-Alt-V over it. Now it seems weird to do that, but going back to our panel that we had up here earlier, we have a linear gradient that we can do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply that gradient, and then I'm going to come down here and create and edit gradient. I'm going to grab this guy and pull him back a little bit. We're just going to give it a green splash behind all this. So we have that. Actually, let's go through it. I'm going to change some of these colors and see what they look like. So we'll go no fill right here. And I'm going to drag this corner down. I'm going to drag this corner up. Just move it to where it's proportionate when we move. Okay. So now I got a gradient. You really can't see the logo. So I'm going to go through and add an opacity to it and kind of create a lens effect. So I'm going to start out 35, go pretty low. And zoom in a little bit and still see that our text has clarity. We now have a little bit of definition on the background. If you really wanted to, you could move the graphic out. I mean, let's see what it looks like. So, object, I'm going to raise to the top. I'm going to recenter. Oops. See, I had that biggest object selected, so it didn't center to the page. Move that back. And the graphic I had already had kind of a gradient effect on it with the screens, as you can tell. It kind of looked glossy on the one side and then very bold and vibrant on the other with the green color coming out. So that's one little trick I found you can do. It just adds a different look to it. So the background has a little bit of texture and depth now. You can go through. I have icons and stuff we could put, but for now, I think I'm going to grab these. Oops, not the background. Alright, I'm supposed to select the background. Go through and grab these and forget about it. Just forget about it. We're going to go through and export. So we're going to go through File, Export the PNG image. So now that we have our graphic created, pretty simple, pretty basic, sends the user to my website. That's all I want them to see. It's a lot better than just a random picture with my logo. I'm going to go through to the export area. We want to click page. Now, remember how we resized that texture to 96 by 96 pixels? Same theory for the DPI. So we're going to change the DPI to 96, kick it up past the 72. That way Retina displays can pick this up. So our width goes back to 820 and our height goes back to 340. So if you've seen that, when I type that 96 in at 72 DPI, it would be 615 by 255. So the 96 DPI brings it to the 820 by 340. So we're going to go to export. I'm going to go to my local folder here, and I'm just going to do an export here. That way I have it in general location. So we'll go to July 17 GTD Facebook cover. So we got it saved. Now we'll go back to Facebook and we'll upload it. That way we can see how it looks. So we're going to change the cover here. Whoops. I don't know why this is being wonky. There we go. So I'll upload a photo. Come back to Green Tea Design, IMG, and let's find our background. Oh, I forgot to. Yeah, click export. Jeez, guys, sorry about that. Here, looking for an image that doesn't even exist yet. Alright, so got it popped up. Go back to Facebook now, and there it is. Alright, so we'll upload that and see what it looks like. So it loaded pretty well. So we'll go through, we'll click save. And just to show you what I'm talking about, for the mobile site, I'll pull it up on my phone and you'll be able to see how well it looks. So this right here is what the site looks like now. So it looks a lot better. So that is really all it is. I mean, that's pretty simple. I went through it really quick, but then again, I was just trying to get the hang of this whole video thing, as you can tell. So hopefully you guys enjoy this, and I will definitely be making more videos in the near future.